Today we're going to be covering 14b, which is standard form of linear equations. Our content objective is students will be able to graph linear equations written in standard form by finding the x and y intercepts. So in the past we've graphed using tables, we've graphed using slope-intercept form. Now we're going to be working with a new form called standard form. Our language objective is students will be able to verbally state how to find the x and y intercepts. And why am I learning this? Well, it's important for solving real-world problems, such as finding the distance traveled at a constant speed. So far, the form that we've learned for linear equations is slope-intercept form, which looks like the following. Y equals mx plus b, where m is slope. We use rise over run to help us graph, and b is our y-intercept, which is our initial point in which we start graphing using slope. Now we're going to talk about something called standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are integers, which means basically a, b, and c are not fractions or decimals. So a couple vocabulary that we should go over before we get started is what are x and y intercepts. The x-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept is the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. So we are familiar with the y-intercept. We did use it to graph when things were in slope-intercept form. So let's take a look here. This point right here, notice this is the point in which the graph touches the x-axis. So this would be called the x-intercept. So notice it occurs at -4. So this ordered pair would be written as -4, 0. Something that I want you to focus on is when you're looking for the x-intercept, y equals 0. Okay, so you're going to have to note this because this is what we're going to be using. In order to find the x-intercept, y has to be 0. Okay, the other thing is the y-intercept can be found here. This is the y-intercept. It's occurring at 3. And this ordered pair would be written as 0, 3. So notice in this case, in order to find the y-intercept, this time x has to be 0. Okay, so notice if you're looking for the y-intercept, you're going to make y equals 0. But if you're looking for the y-intercept, you're going to make x equals 0. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to our first example. So it says here, find the intercepts of -2x plus y equals -6. So if I was looking for the x-intercept, I need to set y equal to 0. So in other words, your focus is on the x, so you're going to, I guess you can say camouflage the y, make it disappear. So I'm going to go ahead and use this equation here, but instead of putting y, I'm going to substitute in a 0, like the following. At this point, I can go ahead and solve for x, so I'm going to be left with -2x equals -6. I'll divide both sides by -2. Notice the -2's cancel each other out here. The negatives cancel each other out here, leaving me with x equals 3. So the x-intercept will occur at 3. If we wanted to write it as an ordered pair, well, understand that x equals 3, y equals 0, and we know that ordered pairs are written as x, y. So that's going to be 3, 0. Now that I found the x-intercept, I'm going to go ahead and find the y-intercept. If I'm looking for the y-intercept, I'm trying to put the focus on y, so I must kind of camouflage x. So I'm going to go ahead and make x equal 0. So once more, I'm going to use the equation, but instead of an x this time, I'm going to replace x with a 0. So I'm going to substitute a 0 in for x. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm just going to solve for y. So -2 times 0 is 0, which is just going to leave me with y equals -6. So my y-intercept is going to occur at -6. But if I were to write the ordered pair, okay, I would have to note that y equals -6, x equals 0. Once more, you write your ordered pair as x, y. So please note that now you're going to put 0, -6, and that would be my y-intercept. Now that I have both the x-intercept and the y-intercept, what I can do now is go ahead and graph it. I'm going to go ahead and plot to the x-intercept, which is at, the y-intercept, which is at 0, -6, which can be found here. Then I'm going to plot the x-intercept, which is at 3, 0, which is found here. Now that I have 2 points, all I need to do is draw a line, and there's my graph. So this time, what we're going to be focusing on is, in the past, we've found the y-intercept and we use slope to graph. In this case, we're going to just find the x-intercept, the y-intercept, plot those 2 points, and that's going to be enough for us to draw a line. Because in math, technically, all you really need is 2 points to form a line. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try number 2. Again, what I'm going to do is first look for the x-intercept, and in order to do that, since my focus is on what is the x, I'm going to camouflage y and make it 0. I'm going to go ahead and use the equation here. So instead of y, I'm going to substitute y in for 0. So this is going to be replaced with a 0. Now I'm just going to go ahead and simplify. I have 2x equals 18 because this becomes 0. I'm going to divide by the coefficient, so that's going to divide both sides by 2, leaving me with x equals 9. So my x-intercept is at 9, but if I wanted an ordered pair to figure out where that point is exactly, I'm going to go ahead and say that if x equals 9 and y equals 0, and I know that ordered pairs are written as x comma y, I'm going to write that the x-intercept will occur at 9, 0. Okay, so now that I found the x-intercept, I'm going to go ahead and now find the y-intercept. So here my focus is on y, so I'm going to go ahead and camouflage the x by making it 0. I'm going to go ahead and use the same equation, but this time I'm going to substitute x with a 0. So I'm going to go ahead and replace x with 0. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. 2 times 0 is 0, so that would be gone, leaving me with -3y equals 18. Now I'm going to get rid of the coefficient by dividing both sides by -3. The -3's are going to cancel out. Here, the negatives don't cancel out, so I'm just going to be left with y equals a -6. So my y-intercept is at -6, but again, if I wanted to write the ordered pair, I'm going to go ahead and note that y equals -6. X equals 0. I know that the ordered pair should be written as x comma y. So in this case, I'm going to put 0, comma, -6. So that is my y-intercept. So now that I have the x-intercept and the y-intercept, I'm going to go ahead and plot those points on my graph. So first I'm going to go ahead and plot the y-intercept is at 0, -6. Then I'm going to plot, so notice it's the y-intercept because it's on the y-axis, and then I'm going to plot the x-intercept, which is at 9, 0. And again, it is called the x-intercept because it's on the x-axis. Now that I have these 2 points, that's enough for me to draw a line, and that's my graph. So real quick, let's still discuss what's the slope of this line. Is it positive or is it negative? Well, reading it from left to right, I would say that it is positive. In fact, you could see the slope from this graph. You can say the slope is going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my rise, and my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, this can be reduced by 3, so which would leave me with 2/3. So notice if you wanted to, you can still figure out what the slope is. Okay, awesome. So now what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and pause the video and try number 3 on your own and see how well you do. Okay, so let's go ahead and check our answers. So first things first, you're going to find the x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. So you're going to use the equation, but instead of y, you're going to substitute it a 0 in, leaving you with 3x equals 12. You'll divide both sides by 3 to get rid of the coefficient, leaving you with x equals 4. So if the x-intercept is at 4, what would the ordered pair look like? Again, you should be writing it as x comma y. So knowing these 2 pieces of information, the ordered pair would be 4, 0. Now for the y-intercept, you need to set x equal to 0. So you're going to use the same equation. However, you're going to substitute a 0 in for x. You're going to simplify, leaving you with 4y equals 12. Divide off the coefficient. leaving you with y equals 3. So my y-intercept's at 3. If I wanted to write the ordered pair, I need to recognize y is 3, x is 0. I know that ordered pairs are written as x comma y, so my ordered pair should be 0 comma 3. So now that I have both ordered pairs, I can go ahead and plot it on my graph. The y-intercept is at 0 comma 3. My x-intercept is at 4 comma 0. And there is my line. If I wanted to talk about slope, again, it's not necessarily, but I want you to recognize it. First of all, I do notice it's going downhill, so I should end up with a negative slope, so just keep that in mind. It is going down 1, 2, 3, so since it's going down, that's a negative 3. And then it's going over 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, the slope is negative 3/4. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's move on to number 4. Once more, I would like you to go ahead and pause the video and see how well you do on your own. Okay, so let's see how well you did. So first things first, we're going to find the x-intercept by setting y equal to 0. You're going to use the equation and substitute in substitute 0 in for y, which is going to simplify to 4x equals negative 18. At this point, you're going to get rid of your coefficient by dividing both sides by 4, leaving me with x equals negative 9/2. If you're wondering how I got that, I basically reduced 18/4 by 2, and that's what gave me negative 9/2. So right now, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, I did something wrong because I have a fraction. No, you're not. It's possible to have a fraction, so don't worry about that. Just understand what is negative 9/2. Divide it out. So real quick, I'll show some side work. 9 divided by 2, that goes in 4 times with 1 left over, so it's basically 4.5. Okay, so if my x-intercept is at negative 4.5, my ordered pair would be negative, let's call this 4.5, negative 4.5, comma 0. So I can still graph that. Now, if I wanted to find the y-intercept, I'm going to go ahead and set x equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and substitute in a 0 in for x, solve, and I'm going to divide both sides by 12, leaving me with y equals negative 3/2. So here, if you're wondering what I did, I divided by 6 to both the numerator and denominator, leaving me with negative 3/2. Again, don't let this overwhelm you. All you would need to do is figure out where does this lie exactly. So if you divide it out, 3 divided by 2 goes in once with the remainder of 1, so it's 1 1/2. So if the y-intercept is negative 3/2, that's basically negative 1 1/2. So my ordered pair would be 0 comma, let's write it like this, 0 comma negative 1 1/2. So yes, I've been telling you, hey, you can leave it improper. However, in the purpose of me graphing these points, it is going to be beneficial for me to actually leave it as, convert it into a mixed number so that I know where this graph would end up. So let's write it one more time so I can erase this. Please don't mind my very sloppy handwriting. Let's go ahead and take this off for our graph. Okay, so now that I have all the information I need, I'm just going to go ahead and plot the y-intercept, which is at 0 comma negative 1/2, so 0 comma negative 1 1/2. That's my x-intercept. Sorry, not my x, my y-intercept, because that's touching the y-axis. And then for my x-intercept, I'm going to go ahead and put negative 4.5 comma 0, so it's going to go negative 4.5 comma 0. And there you have it. So here you can even quickly look and say that the slope of this line is negative. Awesome. Okay, so moving on to number 5. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and show you real quickly how we would do this. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to find our x-intercept by setting y to equal to 0. You're going to plug that 0 in for y, solve for x, and you're going to divide both sides by 2, and x equals 5. So I'm going to go ahead and recognize that the ordered pair here would be 5 comma 0, since x is 5 and y is 0. Then for my y-intercept, I'm going to set x equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and use the equation, but instead of x, I'm replacing it with 0. I'm going to solve for y, so divide both sides by -5, and y equals -2. So here, if I wanted to figure out what the ordered pair is, it's going to be 0, comma, -2. So here x is -2, sorry, not x, y is -2, so you're just going to plot that point here and draw your line. So notice again your slope is positive. If you wanted to be more specific, you can say, hey, the slope is going up 2, going to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so the slope is 2/5. So you need to do this, no, but I just kind of want to expose it to you so that you can still recognize that you can find the slope even if you're not using slope-intercept form. Okay. So what are some drawbacks about using this method? Well, first of all, since you're only using 2 points to sketch a line, you might not know if you made a mistake or not. Okay, when you used at least 3 points, you can see pretty quickly if the points were right or not. But if you're just using 2, it's going to be pretty difficult to see whether or not it's correct. So be very careful. Okay, number 6. Let's keep practicing. Here, the x-intercept, all you're going to have to do is plug in 0 for y to figure out x-intercept. You're going to solve, divide both sides by 8, x equals -2. So what you're going to do here is simply plot x equals -2 on the x-intercept. Okay. If you want to, you can again recognize that that's -2, comma 0. And then you're going to find the y-intercept by plugging x equals 0. Solve. In this case, you're going to get y equals -4. So you're going, on the y-axis, you're going to go ahead and plot -4. And again, this ordered pair would be 0, comma, -4. Now you have your line. Please notice that it's not asking you to, but I want you to recognize that the slope is negative. It's going down 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's -4 over 1, 2, which is going to reduce to -2. So the slope of this line is -2. There you go. Okay, so let's look at number 7. So here, again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the x-intercept first by going ahead and setting y equal to 0. So let's do that. Here, you're just left with x equals 4. So this is actually the easiest one we've done yet. It kind of just gave it to you. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and plot that x equals 4, that point, which is going to be here. But again, recognize that this is technically, this is technically 4, comma, 0. It's not the equation x equals 4, because if that was the case, then you'd actually have this line, right? So be very careful that you understand it is just a point. Now the y-intercept, what you're going to do is take this equation and set x equals to 0. So now I have -4y equals 4, divide both sides by -4, and y equals -1. So on the y-axis, you're going to plot a point at -1. But again, recognize that the ordered pair for this would be 0, which is x, comma, -1 for y. So here, again, I'm not asking you to write this down, but I do want you to be mindful of it. The slope would be a positive. The rise is 1. The run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So the slope would be a positive 1/4. So just, again, be mindful of that, that no matter which way you are graphing, you can still be able to find slope off of any type of graph. Okay, so now let's go back into graphing horizontal and vertical lines. We've done this before, but some of you guys are still struggling, and it's some of the easiest problems, so we want to make sure we get them down. So if I ask you to graph y equals 3, this is the easiest type of graph. All you're going to have to do is create a table where all the y's are 3's. X could be any number you want, okay? But all the y's have to be 3. So this is kind of overload. You don't need that many, but I want to prove a point here. If I graph these ordered pairs, we have negative 2 comma 3, negative 1 comma 3, 0 comma 3, 1 comma 3, 2 comma 3, 3 comma 3, 4 comma 3, 5 comma 3. So hopefully you start recognizing that you have a horizontal line. So any line in the form of y equals a number is going to be a horizontal line, okay? But let's review a couple things. Number one, if I asked you, what's the slope of this line? What would you say? Well, hopefully you're reading it from left to right and you're recognizing that it's not going up, it's not going down, so you would say the slope of this horizontal line is 0. The other thing that I would ask you is, what is the x-intercept? What would you say? Hopefully you would say there is no x-intercept because this graph never touches the x-axis. But if I asked you what's the y-intercept, hopefully you would say it's right here, which means the y-intercept is at 0, 3. So again, when you're looking for the y-intercept, x needs to kind of be camouflaged, so it's a 0, okay? So moving on to the next one. What if they ask me to graph x equals negative 2? Well, again, this is one of the easiest types that we can do. Create a table, make sure all the x's are negative 2's, and the y can be any number that you want. But again, you want to keep numbers that you know will fit on a graph. For example, I'm not going to pick 100 here, even though I can. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Because it wouldn't fit on my graph, so it would be pointless for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot these points, negative 2 comma negative 2, negative 2 comma negative 1, negative 2 comma 0, negative 2 comma 1, negative 2 comma 2, negative 2 comma 3, negative 2 comma 4, negative 2 comma 5. Hopefully you start recognizing that this creates a vertical line. So anything in the form of anything in the form of x equals a number will always give you a vertical line. And if I were to ask you what's the slope, hopefully you would say undefined. Why? Because you can't read a vertical line from left to right, so that is definitely undefined. Okay, so now if I were to ask you, what's the x-intercept? What would you say? Hopefully you would say the x-intercept occurs right here, which would be at negative 2 comma 0. So again, notice if I'm asking for an x-intercept, the y is being camouflaged by the 0. Now if I asked you what's the y-intercept, what would you say? Hopefully you said there is none because it never touches the y-axis. Okay, so just a quick review. A horizontal line is made whenever you have y equals some number. A vertical line is any time where you have x equals a number. Another thing that I want to review is when you have a horizontal line, the slope is 0. When you have a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Why? Because you can actually read a graph, a horizontal graph from left to right. You see that it doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. That's why the slope is 0. But with a vertical line, you can't really read it from left to right, which is why you would say it's undefined. Okay. So that's going to conclude our lesson for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, until next time, bye.